Hello everyone, my name is Lauren and welcome to the Omnivorous Bookworm. Today I am going to be doing some catch up because I'm quite behind, but I'm going to be doing a wrap up for my Jane Austen July for 2021. So although it's September, the beginning, um, Jane Austen is just as relevant in September as she was in July, and I just got really behind because we were moving between cities and it was just a lot. So hopefully at our new place I can make some interesting reading vlogs and things like that. But in the meantime, I am behind. So sorry about that. So I'm just going to go through the prompts for Jane Austen July and talk about how it went for me, how I fulfilled those prompts, and anything that I've already talked about in previous videos, I will just briefly mention, and then I'll link the videos down below in case you're interested in any of that. So the first prompt, how many are there? There are 5. So the first one, oh no, 7, sorry. So the first one is read one of Jane Austen's main 6 novels. So for this one, I read Mansfield Park, Persuasion, and I did those like as a group. And then I also read Northanger Abbey. If I had to rank, and I had never read any of those before, or at least not in my memory. If I did read them, it was so long ago. So I would say my favorite of, well, I'll rate them in order of least favorite to favorite. I would say my least favorite of the 3, although I still enjoyed it, was Persuasion. It just, I liked it. It just didn't stand out for me as much as the other ones. I felt like neither the plot or the romance was quite as interesting as the other 2. Which was surprising for me because I thought that one was going to be my favorite. And then the middle one was Mansfield Park. I felt like the romance wasn't quite as strong, but there was a lot of other interesting things happening around Mansfield Park and a lot of interesting, more interesting. I felt like that Jane Austen went into different class distinctions and even within a family, and really went into how, these 3 sisters married different men and how very different their lives were. There was, the sister who married the minister, and then the sister who married the rich guy, and then Fanny Price's mother who married the poor man or poorer man, and the different paths that their lives took. And the one sister who married the rich man could help her other 2 sisters, and it really was fascinating as far as how much marriage really was important. It's not like these women were just going out to be gold diggers. Like, it was really dependent on their lives and their children's lives as far as who they married. So I like that. And then my favorite one, which really surprised me, was Northanger Abbey. I did a review for this book, so I'll link that down below where I go into more detail about what I enjoyed about it. I was not expecting it. I knew going in that Mansfield Park and Northanger Abbey do not get as much love as some of Jane Austen's other books, and a lot of people just don't enjoy Northanger Abbey for the romance. But for me personally, the romance is not the make it or break it for me. I really enjoy the characterization and the plot points and the writing style that Jane Austen has, and just how concisely she can make people, and just her wit, and it was just so funny. And that of course is going to be a very personal taste type thing, which could be why it's not quite as popular as some of her other books. But I just found Northanger Abbey hilarious. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like the teenager angst of it all, and while at the same time poking fun at it, and how timeless that seems. I really enjoyed it. I was really surprised. Okay, so the second prompt was read something by Jane Austen that is not one of her main 6 novels. So for that one, I chose Lady Susan. I believe I've already talked about that in my first half of July wrap-up. It's an epistolary novel. I enjoyed the story of it. I can't say that I enjoyed as much the actual reading. To me, it seemed really unfortunate that Jane Austen didn't have a chance to revise that story and to make it, to put her magic to it, because I'm sure if she would have had the chance to do that, it would have been an amazing novel. And the more I read of Jane Austen, or whenever I do read her, the more I just feel so sad that she died so young, because we could have had so many more years of wonderful literature, and it's just so unfortunate. I just feel really sad about that. Something fell downstairs, so hopefully everyone's alive, and sorry for the bang. All right. The number 3 is read a nonfiction work about Jane Austen or her time. I talk about both of these books in my first half of July wrap-up. The first one I read was Courtship and Marriage in Jane Austen's World, by Maria Grace, and the second one was the Jane Austen Handbook, Proper Life Skills from Regency, England, by Margaret Sullivan. So I really enjoyed both of these books. I made a video where I talk about 20 surprising Regency facts that I'll link down below. I think that the courtship one I got a lot more out of it. The other one was just very sort of surface level, which was good and interesting. And there were some interesting facts in there. It was very easy to read. I enjoyed the style of how it was written. But yeah, I won't go into that too much because I've already talked about it. Number 4 for the prompt is read a retelling of a Jane Austen book. So I haven't talked about this one a lot, but I will. So I had all these plans of all these books that I was going to read. And I only read one of them, so sorry about that. But I'll get to the other ones maybe later. I read Aisha at Last by Uzma Jalaluddin, and it is a very loose, very, 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 very loose retelling of Pride and Prejudice, by a Canadian author who is Muslim and Canadian, and her main characters are Muslim and Canadian as well, and their family comes from like the Desi diaspora that we have around the world. And I really loved this book. I really enjoyed it. I loved Aisha's character. I thought she was really believable and just lovely. I just really loved her. She was just so sweet, and the main guy, the love interest, if you will. The author did a really great job of capturing Mr. Darcy's prickliness, but lovability, and what has made him, I feel like, the most enduring of all of Jane Austen's heroes of all of her stories. I think that was really the key and the linchpin that really made this seem more like a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, even though a lot of the plot points don't match up, which is good. I'm not a believer that the plot points need to match up for a retelling. The story needs to be its own story, and the retelling is just sort of a, vehicle for that. And I also really enjoyed in that story that she talks about her Aisha's cousin, who is quite immature, and all the all the things the way that she does Lydia, and what's the guy's name that Lydia goes off with? Can't remember, the soldier, Captain something. I forgot. Sorry, I haven't read I need to reread Pride and Prejudice. So I did want to after that. The soldier that Lydia goes off with, that character also has his counterpart in Aisha at Last, and I think that part was done really, really well, and done in a modern Western Muslim setting. It was really interesting, really well done. I love to read stories that have main characters that are Muslim, because I feel like that community is just so often painted with such a broad brush, and I love to see, especially in any religious community, like the nuances of different types of people and different types of belief systems and how strict or not strict that somebody might be. And she really picked up on a lot of that and showing that, yeah, everybody can go to the same mosque and they have different interpretations. They might live in different ways and they're all judging each other's, like, whether they're too strict or too liberal, just like you will find in churches and just like you will find, I'm sure, in synagogues and other religious institutions where it's like everybody's trying to like interpret the same thing, but they have their own ideas. And I always find that fascinating, people's own spiritual journey, their own religious journey, and then the social interactions around that. I mean, I love any book that has that. So I think that will probably be one of my favorite books for the year so far. I believe I gave it 6 stars. I'll have to check again. Okay, so number 5 for my prompts is read a book by a contemporary of Jane Austen. And I did do this, and this was my main achievement for July, I feel like, was The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. It was written in 1794, and it was the kind of basis for the satire of Northanger Abbey. It was quite a big book, and I did a whole review on this book, so I won't go into it anymore. It was a slog for me personally. I'll be honest, it was not my favorite, but it's one of those things I'm like glad I read it, and it was like, probably won't read it again. I know other people enjoy it, so I won't yuck anybody's yum. But it did give me some helpful insights into Northanger Abbey, and I think if you want to read Northanger Abbey, reading some of Anne Radcliffe's work, even a part of it, could be helpful. It doesn't have to be The Mysteries of Udolpho. That one was just really popular at that time. So if you want to do that, if I could do it again, I probably would have picked one of Anne Radcliffe's shorter novels so that I could get the feel of it without reading a huge tome, because a lot of the plot points for Mysteries of Udolpho they're not going to be that critical for giving you a better understanding of Northanger Abbey. It's more sort of the writing style and that melodramatic Gothic style that Anne Radcliffe was so popular for. Okay, number 6, watch a direct screen adaptation of a Jane Austen book. I did do this. I did not watch the 1995 BBC Pride and Prejudice because I didn't want to pay for it. And the other Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley, I don't know what year is that, 2001 something? I don't know. But I read that. I watched that Pride and Prejudice on Netflix because I had it for free. And I really loved it. I had forgotten how much I liked that adaptation. It had been, I don't know when I had seen it. Maybe when it came out originally or shortly thereafter. Um, I mean, it's a great story. It's a great, has great characters. So you can hardly go wrong. I love Keira Knightley too. I think she does make a great Lizzie Bennet. So can't complain. And then the last prompt I have is to watch a, what was it? To watch a modern retelling of a Jane Austen book. So screen adaptation of a Jane Austen book. So not a direct one. And so for that one, I did do Clueless. And I have to say, it was very nostalgic for me. I enjoyed it. It just reminded me of being in, 6th or 7th grade, and when you think 16 is so old, and it's just put me back there. It didn't age as poorly as I had thought it might. I think, of course, they have the huge cell phones, and any type of technology is always going to date a movie. But as far as the actual storytelling and how the characters were, I think it held up pretty good. I mean, the clothes are so iconic, so I mean, it's always going to be retro and nostalgic in that way, of course. But I loved it, and it was it made me want to reread Emma again, because I have read that book, I think 2 or 3 times, but it's been quite a while. So maybe if I don't get to it next July, I'll reread it in the coming months. We'll see how that goes. I have so many high hopes for myself, and I don't make them. So anyway, that was how my Jane Austen July went. Sorry for the lateness of it, but I have been watching other people's videos and really enjoying their experience with Jane Austen July. So hopefully somebody could find this one interesting, either in 2021 or maybe even next year if you catch it and you're thinking about doing Jane Austen July. These were the prompts for 2021, and it was really fun, and I look forward to doing it next year. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, because I'm a small channel, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.